It does not. I still have to do that manually. I forgot to do that when we went live, so I tweeted it like 10 minutes in.
Okay. Well, you should do that.
You should do that now.
I need to, yeah. I need to automate that. I was looking, and there looked like there was not a super easy way to do that, so I did not.
I mean, you could just keep the text in like a text document or whatever, a notepad doc, and just paste it in.
I still have to log into the AP Twitter. I log out every time I change something because I don't trust that I'm going to accidentally post something. Let's see. Where's the pop-out chat? View pinned items. Pop-out chat.
What?
Pop-out chat.
Oh, somebody just like sniffed really hard in my ear. You, Ryan? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I realized last week when I was trimming the Twitch clip, I accidentally left someone like doing that really loudly in the beginning.
Probably me.
And I couldn't go back and do it because I had already deleted the main live stream. So I was like, okay.
Oh, we're live now.
We trust you to do this, Corbin. You screw it up.
You're off the team, Corbin.
I think I fired you last week.
I'm still here. Artem hasn't kicked me out yet.
He wanted to kick us all out, but sure.
Keeps paying me even though he fires me.
That's the best part. I haven't been fired by Artem for months, though.
I got fired twice this month.
Good for May.
See, I think he won't fire me because he's afraid I just actually will go away.
He can't make anybody else do teardowns.
Cody will start posting teardowns on Medium.
Oh my God, no.
That's how we'll know how far Cody has fallen.
No, if I ever stop posting them for any reason, they will not get posted again by me.
Oop. Tweet is up. I did it, and I'm logging out.
Good job, Corbin.
Hi,
Thank you.
Tweeters.
Okay, so
I don't have YouTube show.
If we're good to go, it'd be nice if we're not, super late or anything, or any more late. That would be ideal.
It's gonna be super late.
I don't want to be in this closed window room more than I have to be.
I'm in a similar spot. It's a good several degrees too warm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, the Qualcomm thing for laptops, is that actually something anybody wants to talk about?
Other than that, I want my Qualcomm laptop. No.
Yeah, David. If you're listening,
you're not listening, David. But anyway.
If no, I mean, we can leave it on the list for now. When we get there, if somebody has something we want to talk about, we'll talk about it. And if not, it'll go away. All right. So if we're all set, then we will begin. If you guys know what order you're going to go in. Get that all sorted.
I'm always after Cody.
Okay.
I'm last.
Okay. Then I'm good.
Okay. Welcome to the Android Police Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Whitwam.
I'm Cody Toombs.
I'm Jordan Palmer.
I'm Corbin Davenport.
And I'm Ryan Hager.
And this week, we're going to talk about a lot of pixely things. But before we get to that, let's talk about a Lenovo thing. The Z5.
Oh, boy.
Which was announced this week and was a lie.
They lied to us.
Yeah.
They did. Several times.
So if no one... Actually, let me post the link in the Twitch chat before I forget. Yeah, so if no one knew about this, a couple weeks ago, Lenovo posted this. It was basically a drawing of a phone that was bezel-less and did not have a notch. Everyone got way too excited for it, and then it arrived. And
before that, though, they also posted a render that pretty clearly showed no notch on the phone.
Yeah. There was no shame here. They definitely lied.
And then the phone, when they announced the Z5 has a notch and also a chin at the bottom.
But
this is,
and then I love how it doesn't in there, because the announcement render shows the notch, but then someone took a picture of the actual phone, and there's increased bezels around the whole device, and the chin is bigger. It's like,
Yeah,
Come
it
on,
is.
Lenovo.
It was absolutely shameless. This whole situation. I don't know if Lenovo thought they'd get away with it because this is just a phone for China, and I think it's kind of expected that you really go big with the renders. I think we've seen Chinese phones where the renders look not a lot like the real thing. I think it's somewhat common there. I think most other markets you can't really get away with that. And everybody was paying a lot of attention to this phone because Lenovo really hyped it up.
Yeah. And then the update that we have in there with the actual phone image compared to the render, where it's got thicker bezels and a thicker chin than the press render.
Yep, it is a big fat problem.
Oh, man.
But I mean, you're never going to have the opportunity to buy this phone unless you are in China listening to this right now. I doubt it will sell anyplace else.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty cheap phone. It starts at the equivalent of around $200. So I mean, I don't know, for a $200 phone, I guess the design isn't that offensive. I mean, there are much more expensive phones that have worse chin and notch implementations. So
Some of which we'll be talking about later today.
No.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Or
But yeah, so don't buy a Z5, and the next time Lenovo tells you something, do not believe them. Yeah. So okay, on to pixely things, but not like the pixely thing. There's a new developer preview now that happened just yesterday. Yeah. So developer preview 3, which I would consider the second beta, but I guess what Google is calling it beta 1 in some places. I don't really understand the name.
They're calling it beta 2. The previous release was beta 1, and it's developer preview 3. And Essential's calling it beta 1. It's a thing.
Okay, so yeah, it's all done. But
Google
it's
confusing and branding.
It's the third developer preview, as far as I'm concerned. There aren't really any like big functional changes this time. The stuff that Google announced at I/O, like the digital wellness stuff and like the AI battery monitor, that stuff isn't in there. It's mostly the same stuff we had before, but slightly refined, maybe. I think probably the biggest user-facing change is that they have made some changes to gesture nav, which makes it somewhat less obnoxious, but still kind of concerning.
And Clear All is back in the review.
Oh yeah, and Clear All is back, which
There we go.
clearly
They listen to us.
I have literally never used the Clear All button on a
Oh, man.
I use it all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Why?
Because I can't
it
stand that
looks better.
over menu. Yeah, it looks better.
I don't really care about how it looks. I only ever really care about the
There are
last 4 or 5
supposed to
apps.
be thumbnails in the overview.
It's an OCD thing.
That's
Yeah, it drives me nuts when I
I am well aware they're not actually running, but it still feels better when I close them anyway.
So I was playing with the gesture nav earlier because we posted a couple things about how that sort of changed subtly. They've improved it with respect to how you open the app drawer, because in the last preview, it sort of for no reason that I can understand, you had to swipe up twice or like really, really far, like in one big swipe, to get the app drawer open, because when you swiped up, it would just launch the multitasking screen, which is super not intuitive, especially if you're swiping up like on the app tray area. But even if you swipe up there, it still acts like you're swiping up on the home button, which is supposed to be the gesture for overview now. So that sort of still happens now, but you don't have to swipe like as far to get the app drawer open. So as soon as you swipe up, you get multitasking, and then you just go a little bit further, and it's sort of, you can like inertial sort of flick your way back to the app drawer. I still think that this is not very intuitive, and I wish that Google would throw out their gesture nav ideas and just start over, because it's pretty bad.
I know as soon as my mom's phone gets P officially, it's going to be a problem to try to explain to her how all of this works.
I mean, I wonder if this is going to be like actually the default on P, because it's still really it's really janky, and I don't really think it solves any problems because you still have a nav bar. Like it's still the same nav bar. It's just
Yeah,
got
no space
buttons
is
in it.
saved by
I
it.
know.
And it's like, and there's the back button that just sort of hovers over to the left. It looks broken and unfinished in a way that I find very unpleasant. I mean, I don't understand why they've got the swipe right thing to do like quick switch. If they could just like, if you could swipe the pill to the left to do back or something, that would make more sense to me. Like you're already going to have to train people to understand the swipe gestures for overview.
So, just as a quick thing on the back button, I hope I don't want to say I hope they never remove the back button, but I kind of want it still there at least for a while, because so often I'll be in an app and I want to hit back like 4 times in a row. And if I've got to make 4 left gestures, like left swipes every single time, that's going to be really irritating. I want just that one button I can sort of jackhammer on for a second or so and get where I want to be.
I get that. I feel like apps that you need to hit back that many times are probably problematic for various other reasons.
You mean Google apps? Because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah. But I mean, if Google's intention is to actually get rid of the back button, I don't think developers are exactly on board with that because, not all of them have, the software back buttons. And when they do, they're way up in the corner. And I don't want to always reach for that.
Oh, yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Every
Phones are
iPhone
too
owner
big
for
for
years complained about that.
Yeah. It's very problematic. And I don't see any sort of significant movement in the third developer preview that makes me feel like Google's going to nail this by the time they need to release it.
Well, not to undermine it too much, but I have to say one of the plus sides is even if they do it, it's only Pixel owners that are actually going to experience this, because you can pretty much bet every OEM is going to be like, no, we're really happy with the way it was. We don't really want to do these gestures. So thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, look how long it took Samsung to change to the right buttons.
I hope at least it'll be an option on Pixel phones. But that's still kind of a bummer too, because I would really like for Google to figure out how to do gesture nav on Android. That would be, I mean, I would be fine with that if they could work out a system that actually makes sense. But the one they have now does not.
Or just copy the iPhone gesture.
Yeah, I mean, look, Google's already doing a bad job copying the iPhone with some things that we'll talk about shortly. They might as well just copy the gesture. Just do it.
No shame, just copy paste.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Pixel things, so we heard a couple of potential Pixel sort of rumory things this week, including a mid-range Snapdragon 710 powered Pixel. This would be, I guess, a third device. There will be, the Pixel 3 and 3 XL and this thing, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, I think it's the one we know the least about. It's not planned to come out this fall with the rest of the Pixels. This is next year. This might not be in the US.
So it could be an early part of the year release, and then the main Pixels in the latter half of the year.
Yeah, if it's a non-US Pixel release, I think that'll probably upset a lot of people.
I think there was some conjecture that it was going to be targeting other markets.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the chip, I think it runs. Like the 710 is not, I think, targeted at Western consumers. It's, I think, supposed to mostly be, like India and Southeast Asia and that sort of thing. But I mean, I hope that Google would just be kind enough to sell it globally. That would be great.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, we really just sort of know that's a thing that might exist. There's not much else to say about that.
And it could be canceled between now and next spring or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it might already be canceled for all we know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be nice to have a more budget Pixel offering, because I think they could still do a lot of the things that make Pixels great with cheaper hardware.
Yeah.
At the very least, this would do really well on Project Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Give me my budget Pixel. Honestly, just any budget phone with the camera remotely good as the Pixel would completely blow other budget phones out of the water.
I mean, that phone already exists. It's the 2016 Pixel.
I know. That's what I have. I get it, but cheaper.
New and cheap.
Yes. Hopefully with a headphone jack. That'd be great. I would import that.
Well, Supposedly, this like, you know, smaller, cheaper 710 powered Pixel might be called, might have the codename Bonito, according to a leak that we also saw this week. So I lied when I said there wasn't anything else to say about it. We can say that too. It might be called that. And then it's sort of in that same small window, whatever day that was, a couple days ago. We also got some other potential. Geez, who's put the no?
Someone's
do not
exploding
disturb?
here.
Who's that?
Yep. Forgot to turn my phones off.
Jordan's fired.
Okay. But anyway, so we got some other code names that might be Pixels, Blue Line apparently, and we had a very unnecessarily long discussion about what kind of fish that was and if that was a fish that we could find pictures of.
There's at least 3 different fish it could be. I'm a blue line fish expert now. I know everything
I mean,
about all
like-
the different blue lines.
Like Google, could you just pick a regular fish name? I
Yeah.
mean, geez.
I don't know. It might be the shark. There's a pretty cool shark. It could be, but it's like little. It's dinky. I don't know.
Introducing the Google Nemo and Google Dory.
So we didn't know at the time like which, if that was a code name, like which phone it would be. But then there was another leak that we'll get into in more detail here in a minute that showed the 3XL, and on the bootloader screen it said, was it crosshatch? Is that yeah? So apparently, I guess, is that a fish? I assume it's a fish because this is Google.
I believe David said something about it being an actual fish.
Yeah. So presumably the big one will have the crosshatch code name, and the little one will be Blue Line, I would assume. But like that's totally not the most important thing about this leak. So we got pictures, prototypes, a prototype of the Pixel 3 XL supposedly, and it looks totally legit. I have no reason to suspect that this is fake. And it looks pretty much like the previous leak with the, you know, we had the screen protector that showed the giant notch and the chin, and that looks pretty accurate here. So yeah, this phone has the big notch up at the top with the 2 cameras. I assume they're both cameras. One of them could be something else, and a chin at the bottom. Although I would like to talk to the person who took this, like, why did you frame the picture like this, where you cut off the bottom of the chin? Like that's the most divisive part here, and you couldn't just center the frame, please.
They're hiding something.
I was going to say, look at where it's on the speaker grill. So there's got to be at least a couple millimeters left.
It's a very weirdly framed photo, but I mean, it looks pretty believable. Yeah, it's a big chin. It looks like the Essential phone.
Yeah, it looks almost worse than the Essential phone with the speaker down there. It might be bigger.
I mean, yeah, the notch, it looks like it's about as tall like as the Essential phone notch, but it's, you know, wider because it has multiple cameras in it.
It's not a notch. It's a big gaping hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess maybe it's a lot harder to do proper screen notch design than we have been thinking, because nobody has been able to get close to what Apple has
The closest we've seen is what, the OnePlus 6?
Yeah, the OnePlus 6, the notch just kind of fades away in my mind. I don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah, the OnePlus 6, the notch is pretty compact, and the chin at the bottom is pretty small. It's to the point that, yeah, it doesn't really bother me. But if Google releases this phone that we're looking at, then man, that's it's not a very pretty device.
I mean, the bottom bezel on the Pixel 2 XL is already large enough. I can't imagine adding a notch into this.
I mean, there's no way that this is because of the front-facing speaker. That you do not need that much bezel for a front-facing speaker. This is
I think Xiaomi do it along the edge, like between the front glass and the frame. There's like a real slim line along the bottom bezel. I've seen that from Xiaomi, and it sounds just fun.
Yeah, I mean, and the idea is that if you want to eliminate the chin, you need to fold the OLED panel back at the bottom so that you can get the drivers behind the display. That's how Apple does the iPhone 10 to make it, you know, like all screen at the bottom. I guess maybe the engineering to make that happen is either very difficult or very, very expensive, and nobody but Apple has been willing or able to do that.
Yeah, I know someone, I can't remember if this was in the comments or I saw it somewhere else, but I believe the reason for that is that there's a ribbon cable that connects the display to the phone's motherboard, and Apple's doing something weird where they're like wrapping
They bend
it
the
around.
whole display so
Yeah,
that
the OLED panel actually bends back at the bottom.
Yeah, so that's how they're doing that. I guess no one else wants to or can.
Yeah, it's I don't know. If we're gonna do notches, like I need the phone to be approaching symmetrical. I don't know if I can cope with the designs that we've been seeing so far. They're not good.
But the notch isn't the only unusual thing about the leak. There was also the cameras on the back, or rather the camera.
Yeah, there's only one, and this is the XL. One would assume if Google was going to have a dual camera, it would be on this phone, but it's still just one camera. Which I mean, I'm not that concerned because look, the 2017 Pixels only had one camera, and they were still far and away the best cameras on a phone. Like the regular one and the XL have the same excellent performance. So, I mean, if Google, I mean, a lot of the dual camera setups we see don't even like add anything. They're like, oh, look, we've added a second camera so we can do depth sensing, or there's a monochrome sensor that like sharpens detail. But like Google's already great at that stuff, or at least as good as other OEMs. So unless they have a reason to add a second camera, I guess I'm not too broken up about it.
So at this point, I think Google can probably get away with about another year of running only one camera, but it's probably, I think next year they're going to be more or less forced into it, either because they'll be able to get more data out of the second camera, or there just might be a good argument for going telephoto or super wide, something like that. Whatever the reason, so many other companies are going to have, if Google doesn't up its game significantly this year, so many other companies are going to be able to kind of step up and overtake Google in a more significant way. I mean, the Pixel 2 was sort of a surprise where it came out and it was good enough that even Samsung didn't catch up in its following generation, but giving a whole like year and a half lead is a rough decision.
Yeah, wait for the Note 9. I imagine that's going to be pretty close.
So the other thing about this back photo of the phone, it looks like the entire surface is pretty much continuous, whereas on the Pixel 1 and Pixel 2, that top glass inlay was, it was a separate piece because the body of the phone was metal. This looks like one thing with just sort of a different finish at the top and the bottom. So I don't know. I guess the consensus is that that's probably glass, right? It's a whole glass back.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's hard to tell from the pictures. It does look more like it's one flush piece of material. Whether that's,
I mean, you can see like the curve where like the bottom sort of matte section, it curves like up, it curves up into the top section. So it's sort of
just not. Yeah.
It's like maybe like what OnePlus did with the OnePlus 6, how they have like the matte treatment on the glass. They use like to make it sort of like the acid abrasion or whatever they did. Which I guess, I mean, if you're going to have a glass phone, I would prefer that because at least that way it's not as gross and fingerprinty.
Yeah.
I had a thought, and I don't know if it's justified. It only occurred to me actually once we started looking at these photos again. Between the weird sort of two different textures and the fact that there's only, the back looks very much like the original Pixel, very much like the original Pixel 2 XL. I wonder what the possibility is that this is a dummy back, since this is an engineering prototype.
I guess it's possible, but usually if they're going to cover up the design, they put it in like a giant black box that just covers the whole, like everything except the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're saying a dummy back. One of the things I brought up earlier is we don't know when this picture was taken. We don't really know anything about it. It's entirely possible that this is a really early prototype. It could have been a submission from, who knows? This could have actually been something even from last year's model. Like maybe they came out with a notch design at the last minute and said, hey, we could try for this. And then it just didn't happen. And the Pixel 2 came out instead, and then this happened. Like, there's a lot of possibilities that this is just a really old picture. It might be, their first run at a notch design, and they didn't have a second camera planned yet. There's so much possibility for timing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's impossible for us to know for sure. But at this point, I feel like we're getting to the point where if we don't get any sort of competing leaks, then it's pretty likely this is the real thing.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said earlier, the code names on the screenshot also says Snapdragon 845. Again, obviously, you can fake that, but it just sort of reaffirms that this seems to be legitimate. So,
yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll find out. I'm sure as we approach the probable October announcement, there will be more leaks that we'll be able to argue about. So let's now talk about ZTE. Have we ever gotten to talk about ZTE before? It seems like they haven't all lately.
It's been 3 hours.
Yeah, right. So yeah, ZTE is probably going to be a thing again. They're gonna be allowed to buy technology in the US. They're gonna make phones. It's gonna be like the good old days.
Yes. So a couple days ago, it was Reuters reported that ZTE and the Commerce Department had reached a deal to resume or lift the U.S. ban on the ZTE ban on importing U.S. goods, and now it's official. So with this new agreement, ZTE will have to pay another $1 billion. They will have to replace their entire board of directors and the senior leadership. They'll also have to keep on a team of compliance coordinators for the next 10 years, and the people in that team will be selected by the Commerce Department. So they're going to be keeping an extremely close eye on things. And then finally, ZTE has put an additional $400 million in limbo for the next 10 years. And if at any point they violate either terms of this or some other trade sanction, then that money will go to the U.S. government as part of the penalty. So lots of money. Hopefully ZTE learns their lesson this time. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably perfectly happy to pay this money though when the alternative is go out of business, because unlikely they would be able to shift the 20% of their supply chain that was US based to other sources, and keep making phones and other hardware in any kind of reasonable time frame.
Yeah, and this also pointed out that the Qualcomm chips are so essential to smartphones now that are not made by Samsung and Apple, because those are really the only two big companies making their own premium chips. Yeah, and Huawei's making. Is it like it's still like a budget CPU though, right?
No, the Kirin 970s. The Kirin 970 is fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, no, they're very good chips, but like the high silicon subsidiary doesn't sell them to.
Yeah, they don't give them anyone. I know I was reading an article where I think it was it Tencent? It was some large Chinese company. Their CEO was saying like, okay guys, this is our wake up call. We need to get the ball rolling on our own domestic chips so this doesn't happen.
Yeah, because MediaTek isn't going to cut it. I realize I think MediaTek is Taiwanese, but still.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a problem for the Chinese smartphone industry that they are so reliant. I mean, it's a problem for everybody, I guess, that they're so reliant on Qualcomm.
Everyone except us. Go America.
And it's funny, like Qualcomm was almost bought out by Broadcom a couple months back, which is from Singapore, I think, right now. Mm-hmm. Like it's just like a shell company or whatever. It's not.
Ostensibly they're from the United States, but they're not from the United States.
Yeah. So so Qualcomm is still a US company, and they make almost all of the mobile processors that are of any relevance right now. So yeah, it's you have to right now, if you're building a phone, you have to basically be open to using a Snapdragon chip in like whatever your premium offering is. There's just
especially if you want to sell it in the United States, because you need that CDMA support.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just in general, like Qualcomm's modems are one of the main selling points of those chips.
Yeah.
And I mean, Qualcomm for a while was selling like just the APQ series chips that were just the processor stuff and the GPU without the modem, but like nobody really wants those. So yeah, I mean, there are some devices that have separate modems and those work well enough, but to just get the one package, I think is what everybody wants, and that's why they buy Qualcomm chips.
Yeah, and they're going full blast on 5G, which I don't. Yeah. It doesn't really look like MediaTek isn't really doing much. They're just.
Yeah, I mean the first generation of modems are going to be pretty rough anyway. That's kind of always the way it is. But Qualcomm
was it the HTC Thunderbolt that was it the first LTE phone that was hot garbage?
Or the Droid Bionic? Oh my god!
Yeah, those first LTE phones, they all had like the separate modem that was power hungry and poorly optimized, and it was just basically terrible in every way. I mean, hopefully 5G will be a little bit better, but there's still a lot of questions about how it's going to work. I mean, I know the first generation of modems, they're going to be limited to the TDD version of LTE, which is what they use right now, or 5G. That's what they use for LTE in China right now mostly, whereas in other markets it's FDD. It's like frequency or time is how you develop, how you divide the upload and the download. So the first generation of 5G modems are going to be the time version, which
I think that depends on because that's what AT&T is doing, right, for their 5G, but we don't know. I don't think T-Mobile's is going to be TDD.
Well, but I think that's what the first generation of like modem hardware is capable of. But networks, of course, will be able to support more eventually. I mean, yeah, and it's not even clear like what sort of frequencies people want to use. Like AT&T is like all about millimeter wave, and T-Mobile's like, no, you need low bandwidth for building penetration, and it's just I don't know, it's just kind of a mess right now.
Yay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we were talking about ZTE, so that was a thing. Okay, so
speaking of Chinese companies,
is Asus in China?
Oh wait,
they're Taiwan.
Okay.
Okay. Speaking of nondescript Asian companies, don't be
racist.
Okay, but yes. So Asus, they have a gaming phone.
Yeah,
this is a thing now that people are making gaming phones.
It's so stupid.
Yeah. Man, this is an ugly phone.
I mean, it definitely looks like a ROG product for sure.
Asus's PC stuff is so ugly. them and MSI just make the worst looking gamer aesthetic.
Gigabyte too. But yeah, I mean, it kind of got an interesting look to it. Part of me likes it. Mostly, it's just like it will go away.
It's like different. How many corners can we fit on all of these components? Like, and what is the fingerprint sensor like way off center, like just to be like that?
It's cool.
I don't. God, and that's the shape of the camera module. It's like a weird little polygon. I don't get it. But look, the important thing about this phone is that it has 2 USB ports. There's the regular one, and then there's this one on the side where you can plug in like these weird accessories. So that there's a fan. You can plug an active cooler into your phone, and it's like this giant tumor on the back of your phone that keeps it cool. The whole idea is bizarre to me, but it has an overclocked Snapdragon 845. So maybe you'll want that.
Yes, you'll get more FPS in I don't know. What do the kids play on phones these days?
Well, they don't play Fortnite yet because that's not on Android.
They're still playing PUBG.
Yeah, they will play Fortnite eventually.
They'll get 1 more FPS in Fortnite.
Yeah, so it's got that. Then there's also this weird like second screen gaming apparatus. Like you plug the phone into the top section, and then the bottom is like another touch screen.
I got really. I like when they showed the picture of the guy holding it from the back. So I was like, oh, cool. I can. It's like a NVIDIA Shield, and then you flip it around, and it's a screen on the top and another touch screen on the bottom with no physical buttons except the triggers on the back.
So it's like that new laptop they announced too. It's got the dual touch
Yeah,
screen.
it's like the Lenovo laptop from last year that no one liked.
It is unclear to me if this thing is supposed to have like its own brain inside that will power that screen and like show controls of some sort.
It's
or
like
if games are going to have to support this second screen, which none of them are.
Yeah. I honestly, this feels to me like one of those things that just never hits market.
Yeah.
They'll show it.
I mean, are you telling me that you would not want to buy this phone and the desktop dock contraption where you just plug that right into your desktop monitor and your keyboard and mouse? You're not gonna. I mean, I bet you probably own in Fortnite on that. Like if you had like a keyboard and mouse, like you would be unstoppable.
I mean,
did they say how much this was going to cost?
I don't.
Of course not.
No, they don't. No, it's Computex. That's they're not gonna give you any sort of specifics yet.
How many tech events are going to happen where companies show off phones powering desktops until everyone realizes that no one wants it?
I mean,
if you're an actual gamer, then no, you don't want that.
I mean, that was a thing years ago. Motorola. What was the first one? The Atrix. Yeah. Microsoft they showed off like that laptop dock for it, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then it came out, everybody was like, "Actually, I don't really want this."
Samsung tried doing it again just recently with the DeX, which no one cares about.
I think, as far as I know, Samsung DeX is okay for like enterprise, where you deploy like 1,000 phones. I guess it's cheaper to just have a dock everywhere. I don't know, but
I mean, Huawei has kind of a similar thing, but like, I mean, the thing I like about their solution is you don't need a dock or any kind of like special hardware. Like it's just a Type-C to video out cable.
Yeah.
Like whatever thing plugs into those ports, it'll work. At least that is like, it's a cheap and easy solution. This whole like buy a special dock for this phone approach seems bizarre to me. Oh, I can't believe you almost forgot. This phone has ultrasonic buttons.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted.
It's got like shoulder buttons, but not like physical buttons. Like you just sort of, I don't know, like tap where these sensors are. I bet they're terrible, but it's fun to imagine that they're not.
I was just thinking that I'm not going to buy another phone unless it has ultrasonic buttons, and this sold me.
I was thinking I wasn't going to buy another phone until I could match my other ROG stuff.
Exactly. I need more gamer aesthetic. Why does this not have RGBs? I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
It's like the Razer phone all over again, man.
Where's my RGBs? Where's my pixel light strip?
It's I don't know. I don't get this trend of gaming phones. I mean, at least they tried to make this one like justifiably a gaming phone, but it's not going to be better for gaming than other phones.
No, it's really not. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I can see them selling decently well once Fortnite comes out, but
maybe if they bundle it with like some free crates or whatever you get in that game,
right?
And get three extra in-app purchases or something.
You know that people are gonna, the general populace is going to go towards, oh, it's a gaming phone. It must be better for this.
I mean, let's face it. Like Asus can't like sell phones. They're not good at it.
They're really not. I wonder if this is running Zen UI or something, because they released a phone. The Max Pro had, I think, Android 1 on it. Or maybe it's just stock.
It's definitely won't be Android 1. The UI looks weird, so it might be some new log brick.
Yeah, gamer UI.
It kind of looks like a weird perversion between Ice Cream Sandwich and something Extreme Gamers.
Yeah. It looks like a really ugly skin for that what was it, the ADW launcher that everyone used like 4 years ago.
Ugly. They're like neon and like they have gradients. It's real bad. But everything about this phone looks pretty bad. So I guess that's not really surprising.
This just kind of comes down to the same issue that all these gaming phones have, where there's really no games. that need a gaming phone.
Yeah, that's
because
the other thing.
they're all because smartphone games, you know, they're just money makers. That's all they are. So they all target the lowest common denominator. So they'll all run on like a budget Android phone from 2 years ago. So there's not really a point for this. And I bet Fortnite, when it comes out on Android, will be pretty well optimized because the desktop and iPhone games are pretty well built, especially compared to PUBG in comparison, which I've heard is a dumpster fire.
Fortnite will run on a potato.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the graphics aren't complicated. So.
Yeah. We were just talking about the ultrasonic buttons, and I looked up to make sure I wasn't violating any embargoes. But I have a U12 Plus, which also has like not real buttons on it. It has the EdgeSense buttons. There's going to be a review on the site soon. David is writing it, and I think we've reached a consensus. This is a terrible, terrible phone, largely because of the buttons.
The rage is real.
It is. The buttons are the most frustrating, like, design decisions on a phone in a long time. Like, I can't think of a phone that I have viscerally disliked this much in years. Like, the basic things, like changing the volume, are unnecessarily difficult because the buttons just don't respond the same way all the time. Like, if your thumb is like at a different angle, or you push like slightly differently on these like non-button nubs, it just doesn't register. And like the EdgeSense thing is like buggy and weird, and sometimes it just doesn't trigger, and sometimes it triggers too easily. And I'm so confused about why HTC released this phone. But there will be more words on the website soon about how much we don't like it.
Speaking of phones that look bad, Key 2.
I don't think it looks bad. I mean, I think it looks like a BlackBerry phone, which people want. Some people.
I mean, it's not.
It's.
Eh.
I feel the same way about it as I did with the Key 1.
I mean,
I liked the Priv better. The Priv's design better, rather.
Like, I mean, the Priv was like garbage, though. Like,
it was a terrible phone.
The balance on that phone was so bad. Like, when you open the keyboard, it was really uncomfortable.
I love my phone flopping back and forth as I type. What are you talking about?
But so I mean, this phone looks like a refined Key 1. So like, if you were into the Key 1, if you have some sort of aversion to on-screen keyboards, then maybe this is the phone you've been waiting for.
All 4 of you.
For $650.
Yeah.
For a Snapdragon 660.
Way too expensive.
You can get your keyboard phone, or you can get a Pixel 2. So
It is a very weird decision.
I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but if you buy this, I will seriously judge you for it.
I mean, you're in Pixel 2 territory. You're, 120 over a OnePlus 6?
Yeah, this targets a very specific demographic. And I mean, apparently it's a demographic that TCL/BlackBerry, thinks exists, because, I mean, they charged less for the Key 1 last year. I guess if that must have sold better than I was under the impression it had, because if they're making the new one $100 more expensive, like,
it was a bad value back then, and obviously I haven't played with one, but I doubt that it's much better than last year.
And they did I think David said they did a terrible job with updates on the Key 1, right?
It got pretty regular security updates, but I think it's still on Nougat.
It's still on Nougat, and mine stopped getting updates about 5 months ago.
Oh, that's horrible.
Don't know why.
Who's gonna buy
mine was terrible.
Yours was like defective, because I had one of the prototypes too. I still have it someplace, and I didn't have the same kind of issues.
Oh man, it was so bad. I have no idea where it is now, but
I haven't turned mine on in a long time.
It wasn't fun. Like, the typing experience was
that's the thing. I think people have this fondness for the past. They think that
rose-tinted nostalgia.
They think that they remember keyboard phones being like really great to type on, but they don't realize how far on-screen keyboards have come in the intervening years.
Right, and the keys were just too small. I know they made the key 2s are 20% larger, I think, or something like that, but
20% taller.
taller.
And a different shape and like matte or something. I mean,
That's annoying, but it was terrible. It was not a fun experience, and I remember keyboard phones very well. I had several Blackberries, the old slider phones, and it just wasn't. I was not thrilled with going back to a physical keyboard, even after I tried to use it for over a month.
Yeah, the thing about the Key 1, it was a fun novelty.
Yeah.
I was okay with it because I knew I didn't have to use it forever. If I had purchased that to be my daily driver phone and I was going to use it for a year or two, I think that first week would have been a dark time for me.
Yeah, that would have been a return window. Definitely going back to the store and taking it back.
I mean, but somebody in the chat room is asking if we're reviewing it, and yes, somebody is going to review it. I don't know who yet.
I'm pretty sure it's Steven.
Is it okay? But it is a thing that's going to happen.
Steven gets to be tortured.
Yeah, he's taking one for the team.
After the G7, yes, the key.
Yeah, really. Like we're really just like crapping all over the new guy.
Poor Steven.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna review it at some point in the not too distant future, I would imagine. And I'm sure, like for what it is, it's just fine. If you want a keyboard phone, if that's your primary objective is to buy that kind of device, then Key 2 is pretty much the only game in town.
Yeah, and even though it is, kind of overpriced for what it is, I mean the Snapdragon 660 is actually a pretty good processor.
Yeah, I mean it's
good.
It's not bad. It's like the improved version of the 630. It has the modified cryo cores instead of the reference designs. But I don't think it's going to feel like a Pixel or a OnePlus 6. Similar or less.
There's TCL shoves too much stuff going on in the software too.
Oh, you know what? I didn't think to look. Is the power button on the left or the right?
Oh my god, that was.
Oh, it looks like it's on.
So frustrating.
It looks like it's on the right now, so it's on the correct side. Good
job,
TCL.
So is the shortcut key on the left now, or do they still have that?
You heard it here first. This is worth the extra $100.
Looks like the shortcut key's on the keyboard now.
I bet that. Oh. Okay, so no, there's the volume rocker. There's a textured button in the middle, which I assume is power, and then there's another key below that. So that's probably the convenience key.
Yeah. They're still doing capacitive keys, I see.
Yeah, that is pretty weird. I don't know what they're doing on screen.
Why are they not even on screen, but why are they taking up that bottom space when they could just make the navigation keys like a button on the keyboard?
Because don't you want a 1620 by 1080 LCD?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Especially when I'm paying $600 for it.
Yeah, it's a real expensive phone, BlackBerry. I don't know if that's a good idea. But hey, power button's on the correct side now, which is more than I can say for Motorola. Wait, did we talk about that? Did that just happen? Did we talk about that last week, or was that this week?
Which part?
Oh, the Z2?
The Motorola, the Z2, their Z3 Play.
That was a couple of days ago. Let's see.
If we haven't talked about that on the podcast, we should maybe crap on that some.
Okay. Yeah. Quick crapping. Okay, I put it in the.
Are we done? Are we done complaining about the Key 2 now? Since you all hate it?
We're done.
We can complain about something else now.
Yes. Okay. Oh wait, I put it on the wrong week. Hold on.
I mean, it's not. This isn't like an archival document. We don't need to refer back to this later.
Okay.
To know what we talked about. Yeah. So the Motorola announced the Z3 Play this week. That's the first member of the Z3 family. We don't know anything about any other phones that might come out. But this one, it's like the budget premium offering. I can't believe we didn't put this on the list because I have so many things to complain about. So this phone, it has Snapdragon 636, which is like a mid-range-ish chip. It is a slightly improved version of the chip that was in the last Z Play, the Z2 Play. Has anybody not read the article about this?
I'm reading it now.
I read it.
You expect too much of us.
I did my homework.
We don't read AP.
Okay. I was just going to say, because if anybody hasn't, I want you to guess at how much this phone is going to cost.
$500.
Well,
500.
You already Yeah, you already.
I didn't check. I didn't check. Is that how much it costs?
I don't.
You all skip to the end.
No, I'm pretty sure we were complaining about it in the chat room.
I was
so-
right. I was right.
none of you can be trusted. No, so yeah, it's a $499 phone. It comes with a battery mod, and it's not the turbo power battery mod. It's just the regular one, which is probably like a $30 mod. You can't buy it without that. It's just $500. You get the phone and the battery. And yeah, it has a mid-range processor, and it has a 6-inch OLED. Fine, I guess, but at $500, that is kind of ridiculous.
That is way too big.
That is $30 shy of the OnePlus 6.
And with Motorola's
also-
stellar camera.
Yeah, Motorola's cameras are worse than OnePlus.
And their stellar
That is a problem.
updates. By stellar, I mean non-existent.
Yeah. Yeah, Lenovo has not been good for Motorola's updates. So the other thing, the reason that I suddenly remember that this was the thing I wanted to complain about. So this phone has a fingerprint sensor. It is on the right-hand side where the power button usually is. It is not the power button. It is just a fingerprint sensor. There is a separate power button on the left side of the phone.
What the hell?
No.
I reject this.
I know. It is absolutely something to be rejected. It makes zero sense.
is what
Look at that
happens.
camera hump too. Jeez.
This is what happens when you box yourself into a corner by forcing your phones to have the same design for 3 years because you thought mods were good.
I'm pretty surprised that they did not ditch the current mod design this gen. I feel like this would have been a reasonable time to do it because they haven't released a whole lot of mods lately, and I'm sure that the ones from last year did not sell very well. This would have been a time to make a clean break and do something different, but
I bet this will be the last year we see Moto mods.
nope.
I
mean, this might be the last year we see Motorola. No, I mean, I'm sure
Before
look,
it gets-
Lenovo has plenty of money to keep throwing garbage phones at us with Motorola branding on it. That'll keep happening.
I
As
think you
long
were
as
thinking of HTC or LG when
yeah.
you said that.
oh yeah. Enough people in Brazil are buying Motorola phones for them
No,
to
you know
stay
what?
alive.
Motorola's budget phones still exist and sell very well. They're very nice for what they are.
Yeah, they actually, they're. I don't know if you guys saw this was a couple months ago, but Motorola's new CEO previously was the president of Motorola and Lenovo's like South American region. So they're hoping that they'll bring his, magic to the whole Lenovo product lineup.
I mean, I feel like a big advantage that Motorola has is not so much like strategic. It's that they have factories to build phones in Brazil, so they can bypass the gigantic tariffs that people have to pay on electronics. I think that's why their phones sell particularly well there.
Yeah, and I know Foxconn has factories in Brazil as well, so there might be other companies that are doing that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but Z3 Play. They didn't say when it's coming out. It's going to be this summer, and it's the only carriers it's going to be on. Sprint and US Cellular.
Weird.
So, and for the past couple of years, Verizon has been the premier carrier partner for these phones. Like all of the review units they sent out were Verizon branded and had like Verizon packaging and everything. Not happening this year. So
Verizon,
I'm sure Verizon loves to sell accessories. They want to sell you every accessory possible when you buy a phone. Like mods are tailor made for Verizon. They must not have sold any of them.
You mean no one bought a projector? What?
Man, they're still selling that same projector that they released with the first Moto Z.
That's so bad.
Yeah. But yeah, so it'll be unlocked and then on Sprint and US Cellular, which is basically what you do when you can't get a carrier deal because Sprint doesn't care. Like, is this a smartphone? Then we will sell it.
We will sell.
No.
Is it probably CDMA?
Yeah. So do you think, can you put CDMA on the box? If so, I think we can make this work.
It's on Sprint.
Yeah, but so that's
and nobody cares about US Cellular, so
this is a troubling turn of events for people who inexplicably like the Moto Z line.
Its first iteration was okay.
Kind of. I mean, man, the Z2 Force last year was so bad, though.
But like the Z Play, I've heard a lot of people love that
The
phone.
first one, yeah, the first one
And
had a
they've all-
giant battery. It got insane battery life. I think I got like 12 hours of screen on
Yeah.
time with that phone when I reviewed it. It was crazy. And then
Yeah.
the next year they made the battery small, like regular is like 3,000 milliamp hours, and I think that's what this one is too. Like they completely misunderstood why people like the phone.
Yeah. They didn't like the mid-range specs. They liked the big battery for the
Yeah.
price.
Yeah, no, they didn't like being able to attach mods because they didn't do that. They just wanted the big battery, Motorola. But yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, that's the problem with all the Z phones, at least the flagships, is that they make them so thin so that when you put the mod on, it's not as offensive. But then you have to make them smaller, so then you need the battery mod on top of that. And yeah, it's
So you don't have a giant camera hump? Yeah.
no.
there's
That's
a
why you
myriad
get
of
the
problems.
camera mod.
So yeah,
Oh, that
we'll,
original one?
we will find out how good or probably very bad this phone is at some point over the summer, and hopefully maybe Motorola will announce like a regular Z3 that is not terrible. But I wouldn't hold my breath.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Need to get
Motorola's not doing well lately. We'll have to see though. I believe. Did we have anything else we wanted to discuss?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that was it.
No, not really.
All right. So yeah. Well, then in that case, we will call it a show. If anybody out there has any comments, questions, or concerns, you can reach us at podcast@androidpolice.com.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Jordan.
There it is.